Round start.
Welcome back. I'm Ryan from Blue Gaming, and today I'm taking a look at Warface and whether or not it is worth it to start playing Warface in 2018. Now, before we get into this, there's just a few things that I want to get out of the way. First, this isn't the typical type of game that I would play on this channel, and the only reason why I'm really taking a look at it is because I got requested to take a look at this, specifically the Battle Royale mode, but I decided to just do a whole video like this on the entirety of the game. And that actually leads into the second thing that I'm going to talk about. When I went and looked at YouTube after getting this request, I found quite a few videos doing exactly what this video is going to be doing, talking about the game and whether or not it's worth it to pick up around this time. The big thing that I found in most of those videos, though, is that pretty much every single one of them was sponsored by My.com, the people who currently distribute this game and deal with the cash shop and whatnot. This video is in no way sponsored by My.com. I've never talked to them. I've never actually played a game from them before. And if those sponsored videos weren't so prevalent, this video probably wouldn't have been made. The final thing is that with all my videos like this, I'm expecting that you have at least a basic understanding of what Warface is. I'm not going to be going into the extreme basics of Warface. I'm mostly going to be going over the more important stuff that you'll find as you play Warface over a period of time, and just talk about the upsides and downsides of it. So let's get right into this. Now, I'm going to start out with the good parts of this game, because I'm going to be focusing mostly on the negatives and explaining those. The big one right out of the gate is this game is actually kind of fun. As much fun as your typical Call of Duty game back in the day would be. This really kind of brought back the memories of playing Call of Duty back in the day before it went terrible. I actually haven't played a Call of Duty game in a few years at this point, and this is kind of bringing back some of those same feelings. Overall, my time with it, I have about 20 hours in the game, and I'm holding a solid 1.7 KD, getting about 25 to 35 kills every single game, and for me, this has just been fun, completely wrecking everybody that I play against. I don't know if I'm just above average at these games and I somehow magically got better since I used to play Call of Duty, or what it is, but I've just been having a great time playing this. And the best part about it is, I haven't put a penny into this game yet. It's free to play, so I'm able to download it and play it for free, and so far I haven't had to spend any money on it. And so that just makes it incredibly fun for me. But that's pretty much the only thing that this game has going for it. While it is fun from game to game and on each individual game basis, there is a lot of things wrong with this game. And if you don't have as much success, and if you're not as good at this game as I am, then you're going to be having some issues, and some big problems are going to pop up in this game. So for the rest of this video, we're just going to go over those problems, pretty much all the ones that I can think of off the top of my head, because if I wrote down all the problems that this game has, this would be a pretty long video. So let's get right into the negatives of Warface. And one of the quickest problems that you will find is actually in one of the most basic things. It's the class system in this game. Now, we've seen Battlefield do classes correctly for years, but this game just doesn't quite do it right. There's 4 classes in this game. You have the Assault, which uses assault rifles and gives ammo to people. You then have the Engineer, who uses SMGs, can put down a Claymore, and gives armor to people. You then have the Medic, who uses shotguns and can heal people. Then you have the Sniper, who uses a sniper, and that's pretty much his only outstanding thing. The problem is, only 2 of those classes are actually viable all the time. The Assault and the Engineer. Because the assault rifles have pretty good damage, pretty low recoil, and have a bunch of ammo. The engineer has his claymore, which if you die, your claymore stays where it was, so it's almost a free kill pretty much every single time. His SMG also has quick time to kill and can take down a person or two without reloading. The medic and the sniper, on the other hand, you're not really going to be using that often. They're subpar classes. The medic shotgun is the main problem with his. No matter what shotgun I've used, actually exclude that, one shotgun that I've used has been okay, but pretty much every other shotgun that I've used is not powerful enough. If you try to shoot someone farther than 10-15 feet, it's going to take 4 or 5 shots to kill someone. And with that long time to kill, they're pretty easily going to be able to turn and shoot you and kill you. So several things have to go right with being a medic for him to actually perform well. On top of that, the class abilities, like giving more ammo and more armor and more health, don't really come into play all that often because the time to kill is about the same as Call of Duty, if not a little bit longer, which I'll get into that here in a minute. And so you're not really going to be giving anybody else health all that often, and if you're doing bad on health, you're gonna die pretty quickly, so there's no real point in healing yourself. And just overall, you don't really want to use a medic most of the time, unless it's a very, very close quarters map, and then even then, you still need a good shotgun to actually perform well, which so far, like I said, there's only been one of like the 6 shotguns I've tried that has actually performed decent enough to use it for a whole game. The other class, the sniper, that does really terrible, he doesn't have any special ability besides using a sniper, which the reason why you'd want to use a sniper is because you can kill people from really long distances. The problem is, almost every single sniper rifle that I've used so far is a 2 or 3 hit kill, which is just unacceptable if you want to do well. And you might be thinking back to any sort of sniper rifle in Call of Duty and thinking how 2 and 3 shot sniper rifles can actually do okay, but the problem is in this game, they have a lower rate of fire, so if you're firing at a target a long distance away, then they're probably going to move and get out of your line of sight before you can kill them. If they're up close, then you're going to fire off one round, they're going to turn and kill you before you can get your second one. Now, that's not to say that all sniper rifles are bad. There is a few sniper rifles that are just one-hit kills, which this actually leads into the next problem. Most of those guns you don't unlock right away. This game has a very weird obsession with time-restricted weapons, like a perfect example is when you level up, you get a crate that has something in it. Most often than not, this has been, oh, here, you unlock this weapon for X amount of time. It could be a day, it could be 5 hours, it could be 5 days, but it's just this amount of time you get to use this weapon. When that time runs out, you can either pay in-game cash to extend said time, or you can stop using this weapon, which so far of the 20 hours across about a week and a half that I have played, almost every single weapon that I used has been a timed weapon. It's been a weapon that has had a timer on it, and I really haven't had to use a weapon that I've unlocked myself. Now I have, but there's an issue with that I will get into here in a bit. But with this game's awkward obsession with those limited time weapons, it just kind of feels disjointed. And what I mean by that is, in the beginning, when you first start out, you're leveling up quickly, and you're getting your daily rewards and whatnot, and you're getting these timed weapons quite often. But once you level up a few times and leveling becomes a little bit more sparse, then you're not going to be getting as many of these weapons, which leads into another problem in that you have to repair weapons that aren't timed. So, say I unlocked this weapon for 5 hours, I don't have to pay repair costs every time I use that weapon. But say it's a weapon that I unlock through leveling up or whatnot, then I do have to pay repair costs on that weapon. And it's not just the weapons, it's everything that you use, because you can also equip boots, a chest piece, and a helmet. And you also have a melee weapon. So you're paying repair costs on all of those, which you can set it to automatically repair after each match, which I highly recommend because that keeps the cost down. But essentially for each item that you're using that isn't timed, it's going to cost about $20 per game, which if you count that up, weapons $20, your melee weapon is another $20, which makes that up to $40. Then you have your boots, your chest piece, and your helmet, which adds up another $60, so altogether you're looking at $100 per game that you're having to use in just repair costs. And now you kind of have to look at how much money you make for each game, and I already said I have a 1.7 KD, and I get between 25 and 35 kills in the average game of just regular team deathmatch. Over that, the money that I receive per game is wildly inconsistent. Now, I'm not taking into account daily bonuses or whatnot, or any other sort of money bonus, but in the average game, I will make anywhere from $150 to $400. Now, that is me being a 1.7 KD, getting 25 to 35 kills every single game. If you don't do that well, then you're not going to be making anywhere near as much money as that. And on the low end, I've seen people earn as little as $50 to $80 for finishing a game. Now, if you take into account the $100 that you're going to have on repair costs for a game, you can end up losing money for playing a match, which is absolutely ridiculous. It hasn't happened to me yet, and I don't actually even know if it will give you negative money for finishing a game, but that is absolutely ridiculous. Now, you might be wondering, what do you actually use the in-game money for besides just repairing stuff? Well, unlocking things in the shop, you can actually buy specific timed weapons, you can buy loot boxes, you can buy new armor pieces, all different sorts of things use in-game money. And so earning so little at the end of a game makes unlocking all those other things take a really long time. Which leads into the worst thing about this game. You can buy in-game money with real money. Now, technically, it's with their tokens that you can buy for real money, so there's an extra step in that process, but it's still essentially buying in-game money with real money. Now, on top of that, aside from just buying regular in-game money, which is terrible enough, this game also offers a VIP account subscription service that boosts the amount of XP and unlocks that you get in-game money. So that is also pretty terrible. So if you're not doing as well as me, if you're not buying in-game money, and if you're not buying VIP, then you might have a bit of trouble actually building up money in this game. I don't have any personal experience with not doing as well as I normally do, but I could definitely see unlocks taking a lot longer for someone that's not putting up the kind of consistent results that I am. Since we've been talking a little bit about unlocks and stuff, I'm going to go into the next big problem that I have with this game past the time weapons and the money that you make. There's 6 different types of currency in this game, each doing something special. I've only been talking about one, which is the regular Warface dollars in the game. And I did mention the credits that you can buy, so technically 2, but there's still 4 more currencies that I haven't talked about. Let's go over the 2 more that you can get with VIP. That's your VP and your XP. Now, VP, for some reason, stands for Arsenal Points, which you don't actually unlock weapons by leveling up. You don't unlock anything by leveling up. You actually unlock your weapons, your equipment, and your attachments by obtaining Arsenal Points, which is something that you get at the end of each game. Now, this is kind of a good idea turned stupid, but essentially you are given 1 weapon, 1 equipment piece, and 1 attachment, and you can choose which of those you actually want to put that game's Arsenal Points towards. The reason why this got turned stupid is because it's actually random what's going to pop up next. So say the weapon that I can currently put my Arsenal Points towards is a pistol. It's just some random pistol in the game. Once I unlock said pistol, the game is going to randomly choose another weapon to get put in that spot. So I could randomly get some in-game legendary assault rifle to be one of my first unlocks. Or it could be just regular common assault rifles or pistols or whatever for the first 10, 15 weapon unlocks. And the same goes for the equipment and for the attachments. So there's no guarantee that you're going to be getting anything even useful for you when you're actually unlocking with these Arsenal Points. The next currency is the experience that I was talking about. This just levels you up. I don't actually know if there's anything particular that you get for getting more experience. Every time you level up, you do get a crate that has some sort of timed weapon in it. But besides that, there's nothing really that you get for leveling up. Next is crowns, which is somewhat... It's another good idea turned stupid currency. So crowns is a special type of currency that you get for playing the co-op missions in the game against AI, which is a good idea. Like I said, you earn them for doing specific challenges, which again is a good idea. The problem is, if you do a mission perfectly, you can get 26 crowns. 26. Sounds like an okay number. But once you realize what you're actually using them for and how much you need, that's absolutely stupid. So if you go to the in-game store, you can see, hey, there's some special weapons that I can buy for crowns. Problem is, each weapon costs 1,000 crowns to unlock it for 24 hours. And you only get 26 of these crowns per mission? That is absolutely insane. Like, the number should not even be a quarter of what it is. It should maybe cost 100 crowns to unlock a weapon for a day. But no, it's 1,000 for one day. The next currency is also tied to co-op. It is called Resurrection Coins. Essentially, if you die in co-op, you can spend a Resurrection Coin to revive. It's pretty simple. But this currency is also stupid because you revive once your team hits a checkpoint anyways. So it's essentially only really useful if your entire team dies and you need to use a resurrection coin to continue on with the game. But you're not really going to be playing co-op all that often, so it's a pretty stupid currency. So now that I've talked about that enough, let's move on to the 2 final things I'm going to talk about. One is just something that I found really personally annoying. The second one is talking about the game modes in the game. So going to the one small little nitpick that is extremely annoying to me, weapon recoil. Now, in most games, recoil's pretty consistent. Actually, it is consistent. A gun will have the same recoil every single time you fire it. It's so that you can learn the recoil of a weapon and you can compensate for it. This game, on the other hand, has a very weird and random recoil pattern. Essentially, what will happen is if you're using something like an assault rifle, the recoil pattern will bring the gun up slightly, and then it'll just start bouncing around all over the place. Incredibly randomly, it'll just bounce around all over the place. It could bounce down, up, diagonally, sideways, just any way that it really wants to, and it makes it so that you can't really compensate for any of that recoil. So if you're having to fire more than just a few shots, well, then you might as well stop firing your weapon and then try to fire a few more shots, because you can actually compensate for the first few shots recoil. After maybe 3 or 4 shots, the gun starts just randomly bouncing around the place, and I found that incredibly annoying. Granted, most people probably won't even realize that that's happening, but going around getting 25 to 35 kills every game, I noticed that starting to peak up more, and I found that some weapons have that happen more often than not. Some weapons takes a lot more shots for that to happen. Some weapons it happens more sporadically and it jumps around the place a lot more than some other weapons, but pretty much every single fully automatic weapon in the game does this to some extent. And so that's just kind of a personal thing that I really have against the weapon recoil in the game. So now let's end this off by talking about the game modes in this game, because this game actually does give a little bit of a variety. So essentially every single game mode in this game can be split up into 3 categories. Starting off, there's the co-op missions, of which where you and up to, I believe, 3 other people can play together on somewhat of a mission. Now, there's not really any story in any of these. There's no overarching story across multiple co-op missions. It's just go to this place, fight your way through a bunch of AI enemies, and then there's a boss at the end. And then you finish off the mission. There's 6. There's 1 on easy, 2 are normal difficulty, 2 are hard difficulty, and 1 is insane. I find these extremely boring, so I haven't really played all of them. And pretty much the only real reward that you get for them is those crowns, which it takes a ridiculous number to actually use for anything, so I just stopped caring about co-op missions. Next is the special operations, of which at any time you can play 3 of, and it costs a access token to actually enter one of these special operations. Now, I haven't unlocked any access tokens besides the 10 that they give you for starting out, so I don't know if you actually have to buy them or anything. I haven't really looked into that, because these are essentially just longer co-op missions that give you a slightly better reward. Instead of crowns, they give you a loot box at the end, which I can pretty much guarantee that that loot box is going to have some timed item in it, so I didn't waste my time in special operations either. Like most people won't. It actually takes quite a while to find a co-op or special operations match, so most of the time you're going to be playing Versus, which is your standard PvP affair. So let's go over some of the different game modes that they have. The first of which is actually the one that I got requested to do the original video on, which is Battle Royale. And I can easily say that this is the laziest Battle Royale mode in any game that I've played, and I've played quite a few of the Battle Royale games out there. In this game, it's 16 players get dropped onto the same map. There's only one. It's just an expanded version of one of the regular multiplayer maps. And this one, the reason why they have it only 16 players is because they want this to take less than 5 minutes. The zone is constantly moving in towards the center, It doesn't stop and readjust. There's no map to really look at. It's just funneling everybody towards the center. And the only thing that you can pick up is guns. And each gun only has one magazine in it. So that's what you're really doing. Now, I've personally won 3 of the 4 of these that I've played. And I would have played more, but at this point in time, I can't find a new Battle Royale match to save my life. Like, I've waited in the queue upwards of 15 minutes and have not had a Battle Royale game go off. So, I don't really think anybody's playing this mode anymore. In fact, it's actually been kind of hard to find matches in most of these modes. But, yeah, so you don't play this game for Battle Royale. That's pretty simple. The regular modes that they have, or the other modes that they have Capture, which is just capture an objective. They have Domination, which is exactly what it sounds like, it's regular domination. They have Free-for-all. They have Plant the Bomb, which is kind of like Search and Destroy. They have Storm, which is essentially everybody runs to an objective and tries to capture it. Then there's a team defending said objective. Once the objective gets captured by the attacking team, then you move on to the next objective, which is just pretty standard affair. Next, there's Bag and Tag, which is essentially kill confirmed from Call of Duty, and the most common game mode that you will find pretty much everybody playing. It's actually not taking me more than 20 seconds to find a almost full lobby pretty much any time of the day. It's regular old team deathmatch. Now, I don't have a problem with any of these game modes specifically, but there is one thing that I do have a problem with, and that's the maps that all these are played on. See, there's a very weird kind of disconnect with this game and these maps. This game should have had maps that were about twice as big as they currently are. These maps are way too small. On top of that, spawns never change on these maps. The only map where, or the only mode where spawns actually change is Storm, because you're changing to go to wherever the new objective is. But besides that, and TDM and all the other ones, spawns don't change. You spawn in the same spot every single time. And mixed with these super small maps, it leads to the problem where most often matches become massacres because one team's able to spawn camp the other team. Like, this is so bad, in fact, that you were actually given invincibility when you spawn for a few seconds just so that you won't instantly be killed. Like, there's been times where my team or the other team has like a 100 kill lead on the other one just because of how much they're spawn camping the other team. Pretty much every single game comes down to this. It's in the beginning there's a fight in the middle of the map, and then one team just gets pushed back into their spawn and has to fight out of their spawn, which most of the time it's a quite open spawn, so we're just waiting for them to come around a corner and, oh hey, your invincibility wore off, so we're going to kill you instantly because we have a firing squad here waiting for you. So if you're not on the team that is doing the spawn killing, this game can get extremely boring for you because you're just spawning and dying, spawning and dying, spawning and dying. Thankfully, you can kind of fight your way out of it, but it is definitely not easy. Of the 3 or 4 times that I have been in a situation where my team has been spawn killed constantly, only about half of those I was able to fight my way out, which kind of put a damper on those games. Like, those were not fun games whatsoever. Now, one last thing that I just remembered before I actually end off this video, actually the most pay-to-win thing in this game. It goes back to the shop, and with the money, there's some very expensive items in the game for in-game currency. Those in-game items are typically equipment pieces. And equipment pieces in this game give actual bonuses. Like, gloves will give, like, minus 15% recoil. Like, that is actually an actual stat on an actual piece of gloves that you can buy for in-game currency in this game. There's boots that let you sprint for 15% longer. There's headpieces that will give you 30% less head damage taken. There's headpieces that will give you a vision that lets you see enemy claymores on the ground. Like, that is the most pay-to-win thing I've ever heard in a game like this. I'm just glad that I don't play more games like this, because I might start to think that that was maybe okay, which it is absolutely not. So, since we've gotten all that out of the way, this video has gone on for quite a long time. I've brought up a bunch of bad stuff about this game. So let's get into my final verdict on whether or not you should start playing Warface in 2018. Pretty simple answer. If you haven't played Call of Duty in a while, or if you don't want to play a futuristic Call of Duty, or if you don't want to play a World War II Call of Duty, then download this, play it for a few days, and have some fun with it like I am. You don't have to spend any money. Hopefully you're good enough, because if not, then you might be having a bad time. Other than that, I would just not pick up this game. There's too many things in it that are pay to win. There's too many, like, small things, like just the small things, like the recoil, the bad maps, the unoriginal different modes that you can pick from. Pretty much all this stuff. If you're not just wanting your little Call of Duty fix, don't pick up this game. And whatever you do, even if you are picking up this game and playing it for a bit, just definitely don't spend money on it, because some of this stuff is absolutely pay to win, and it's like a ridiculous degree of pay to win. And so just don't spend real money on this, but it is occasionally fun, and for me, doing well enough, it is fun enough to keep playing for a bit. But I can definitely see once I stop getting these consistent rewards and start having to use more of my own guns and some of the not so great guns in the game, I'm pretty quickly going to just put down this game and never pick it up again. So that has been it for this. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I think I covered pretty much all of the big things in this game. As always, I'm Ryan from Blue Gaming, and I'll see you guys in the next one.